On today's episode, we're going to focus on families establishing a budget to pay for their student athletes' college education. Sam and I, as we talk to student athletes together, as we work with our clients, one of the first questions that we ask our families is, how important is scholarship money? And what are your goals when it comes to, paying for your child's education? For some of you, the investment is set aside. You maybe financially you don't really have any issues with paying for your child's college education. But for most, establishing some sort of budget and having some goals in mind is super important. So today I thought we'd talk about scholarships at the Division I, Division II, Division III level, what to expect scholarship-wise in all those divisions, and then as well as NAIA schools. So Sam, do you want to talk a little bit about the Division I and how the 12 scholarships work and fully funded programs? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So at the Division I level, a fully funded program has 12 scholarships. Volleyball functions in the world of being a head count sport. So for example, if you are fully funded at 12 and you have a roster of 15, 12 of those 15 players will be on a full scholarship. The other 3 would be what we determine as a walk-on, and then that's figuring out how they will pay for their college will be based on their academics, need-based financial aid, and whatever that institution tells them they would have to pay for that school. As a reminder, not all Division I schools are fully funded. Okay, there are some leagues, the Ivy League is the first one that comes into play, that doesn't give out any athletic money at all. It's the Ivies. If you can get into the Ivies, kudos to you. You deserve to be there. So that piece is important when you have those discussions with those coaches, and even in various conferences around the U.S. are not fully funded at 12. So again, you want to really have a game plan, because if you're thinking scholarship, coaches will be upfront and tell you they forecast out what they're looking at. And so you'll hear sometimes the lingo of, yes, I received a full 4-year athletic ride basically to a school, or you might hear I'm getting a 2 for 2 or a 1 for 3 or a 3 for 1. And a lot of that means is based on the forecast of those coaches and what they have available. They might be able to offer you 2 out of those 4 years on an athletic scholarship, or maybe only 1 year. Maybe it's 3 years.
Just stopping you there, I think it's so important for you guys to understand that less than 1%, less than 0.5% of student athletes are getting a full athletic scholarship to play at the next level.
Very true.
And so in Division I, there are a lot of student athletes that are on, Sam just brought up a 2 for 2. 2 for 2 means that the institution is picking up 2 years, so you're getting 2 athletic scholarship years and 2 years that your family is actually paying for your education. This is common across the board in every position.
Correct.
But liberos, just so you know, very few of them get any scholarship money at all. Many of them are full pay walk-ons all 4 years. And I know for a lot of families it's very frustrating. There are some programs that like to scholarship liberos more so than others. And some coaches have the philosophy too that when you get on campus and once you're there, you can earn it. And they'll just kind of figure out who stats out, like who wins over statistically to determine which libero should get scholarship money. So I think that's really important.
It's very, very important. And I think that if you have the ability to play at the Division I level, you're getting recruited, that is kudos to you. Like, that's important. And so those kids that are wanting to play at that level, whether they are full scholarship or partial or a walk-on, they're fully recruited, that the coaches believe that they make a big addition to their program. Well, is there a chance they could get money down the line? Maybe. Not always a guarantee. And so again, when Kara talks about the budget and thinking about what your family can afford, I think that whether it's Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, for example, you really need to have that discussion. When I started coaching at Rhodes back in 1999, Rhodes is a top 50 liberal arts Division III school with a hefty price tag. And I can remember my athletic director point blank telling me, Sam, you need to have a discussion about money with families. If you like a certain player or certain players, you need to have that discussion so you don't get caught up in really wanting this kid when they can't afford to come to Rhodes. And he said, if you feel uncomfortable, I will be in the room to help you with that. And I took that advice to heart, and I remember that to this day. And I think that that's super, super important. And that's why you will find out that coaches at all levels will have that discussion. I promise you, I've had that discussion at upper echelon D1 schools that are playing in Power 5 schools and trying to figure out who they want to add to rosters to see, can somebody be able to afford that institution?
The academic money that can come into play, I mean, the better you perform in the classroom, the more merit money you're going to get at the Division I level. And so that's something to take into consideration. In terms of your out-of-pocket expenses at the Division I level, there's a couple of big perks. You know, there's questions sometimes about, from a financial perspective, if you're a recruited walk-on and you're not getting scholarship money, what does that mean in terms of travel? Your travel's covered. A lot of families end up having that question. They think that they have to take care of their student athletes' flights and things of that nature when you go on the road just because they weren't recruited, and that's not the case at all. The other thing is priority registration. Obviously, that's a huge perk. But your tutoring sessions, those are all covered when you are a recruited athlete that's on the program. So your tutoring sessions and mandatory study hall, things of that nature, that's all covered. So when you're looking at what it's going to cost you at the next level, when you're looking at in-state and out-of-state tuition for public institutions, it's important to also ask questions with the college coaches if you can ever qualify for in-state tuition as a recruited athlete. So I know Jacksonville State, one of the perks of Jacksonville State University for the beach players that they're recruiting, and we've mainly been talking about indoor, just so you know, but I'm going to cross over on the beach side for just a minute here. With the beach athletes that are recruited there, the perk is that you get in-state tuition. So you could be from California but still qualify for in-state tuition. Your out-of-pocket expenses there are around $16,000. So having these discussions early about what your family can afford is going to be very important. At the Division II level, most of these programs try and get you as close to full tuition as possible. And what that could mean for you is your out-of-pocket expenses could vary between $8,000 and $12,000 and upwards of $20,000 at the D2 level. There are some schools that do not compound scholarships, meaning they don't combine academic and athletic. You have to take one or the other. And so what the coach will do is they'll determine, after looking at your transcript, your test scores, and then obviously reviewing your athletic ability, they'll make a determination which way they should go, whether they should give you the merit scholarship or the athletic scholarship. On the Division II side, maybe you could talk a little bit about how many scholarships are available. I know everybody's kind of different, but there is a little bit of an average.
There is. Fully funded at D2 is 8, and to be quite frank, most Division II schools aren't fully funded at 8. Some of your, what you would deem the powerhouse conferences for sure are. But anywhere at D2, the level can vary from, say, maybe 2.5 to 3.5 to 5 to 5.25. And so basically, in essence, that coach has a pool of money that they are working with that they're going to use on the athletic side to give to those players. And obviously, there's going to be in a given year certain positions that will be able to earn more athletic money than others. But when Kara, again, talks about the academic piece, and I'm going to emphasize that academic piece, that's where that can really come in play with that athletic money, that academic money, putting that together if they're able to do that, and that really helps with the cost of the education for sure.
Yeah, I've seen, just to give you an idea of how important it is for your child to compete in the classroom, I've actually seen differences at the Division II level and Division III level where having a 3.5 GPA or higher and scoring a 27 or higher on the ACT has made a difference of about $25,000 more a year in merit money, and over the course of your 4 years, it could be upwards of $100,000 in savings. So I think really putting the emphasis on your student athlete, if they want to play at the next level, It's okay to take the regular courses. You don't always have to kill yourself with the honors and AP courses. You want the highest GPA possible, because the highest GPA is going to ultimately reflect how much scholarship money you're going to be eligible for. And that rolls us into Division III, because in Division III, there's no athletic money whatsoever. It's all merit-based. Now, I've worked with several athletes over the years who have actually received full scholarships in Division III. And there's some major perks of playing Division III volleyball. And so, Sam, I know you were a coach for 14 years at the Division III level.
For sure.
You know, talk about maybe some of the cool aspects of playing at the Division III level, and then also, you know, just costs of Division III education as a whole. It's expensive.
It is expensive, and obviously there's an academic piece that comes into play, and just to touch upon that, especially at the D3 level where you're talking high academic schools, if you have a great test score but a low GPA, that sometimes will raise a red flag, quite frankly. So the better your GPA is with that high test score is going to mean more academic, more merit money for yourself. So again, we preach about taking care of your business in the classroom. Please make sure that you do. You know, Rhodes, like when I coached at Rhodes for, 14 years, that was a great place. I mean, we played in a conference where we could tell people we flew every year at least once. I thought that was a great perk. We got to go to some cool places, and I know that the girls really enjoyed that. We played high-level volleyball at the D3 level. I think sometimes that's a misconception that D3 volleyball doesn't mean it's high-level or competitive. Any level, you got great teams, some mediocre teams, not so great teams, let's be frank. But you can find that fit. And then the academic piece, like it's cool because volleyball is not your whole life. You're going to put time into volleyball, time to making yourself the best player that you can be, wanting to make your team the best team that it can be. But you can go to a D3 school and whatever you want to major in, and hopefully that school is going to help you, like from research, the relationships with your professors, in addition to the relationship with your coaches. You're going to be able to do some really cool things. Do you want to travel abroad? That's always going to be an option. A lot of schools require that you have to do an internship. When I was at Rhodes, the experiential component of the curriculum was huge. Being in Memphis, Tennessee, there were a lot of internship opportunities for my players. St. Jude's Children's Hospital was one where a lot of my kids went to go intern, work, and still work there, perhaps. So those are the things that you want to be thinking about at that D3 level, where you can definitely take care of that and do that for sure. But I don't want to say it's laid back, because it's not. Like, the coaches are working just as hard and want to be as successful as possible. But it's when you talk about the fit and being able to take care of everything, you're going to have more of that fit piece of having a social life, the education piece, really delving into that on top of the volleyball piece as well. And you have a lot of other student athletes that are in that same role that you end up, becoming really close with, and it's really cool.
From a financial perspective, when we're looking at Division III, the better your student athlete has performed in the classroom, obviously the more merit money that they're going to receive. You really need at least a 3.0 for most institutions to qualify for some sort of merit package. There's also need-based packages. So if your family makes for a lot of schools, if your dual family income for a family of 4 is under $120,000, you will qualify for some sort of need-based money, especially under $100,000 a year. If your combined income is under $100,000 a year, there's a lot of need-based money that could be available, especially at the higher academic institutions. I know that at schools like Amherst and Bowdoin and Bates and these super high academic institutions that people are looking at, the price tag is significant. But if you can qualify for not necessarily merit money, but they typically give you some sort of financial package, and especially if you're on the lower side of the income graph that they kind of have a table, you're going to qualify for a lot more money. The other thing I think is important to point out, a lot of D3 schools are private schools. Private schools do have more money to offer, and for many, they can get their out-of-pocket expenses the same of what for example, in California, we have UC schools, which run you about $30,000 to $35,000 a year as a family. Most most families, at least in volleyball, have been prepared to pay somewhere around there. The state schools run about 20 to 23 out of pocket, and this is of course with your tuition, your room and board, these are all of these kinds of expenses coming into play here. And in Division III, you can find that with these merit packages, you can get your out-of-pocket expenses. They usually give you a great deal of scholarship money, and so you might expect to pay anywhere as little as nothing to all the way up to about $25,000 or $30,000 a year. And then all the way upwards to the huge price tags that are like $75,000 and $78,000 a year. I think as a family, starting your freshman year and really sitting down to talk about what you're prepared financially to take on is a very, very healthy conversation for you to have for your student athlete. And the reason that this is so important is that you want to prepare your child for what you can afford. Don't just say, we'll send you wherever you want to go, because when you look at the bill when it comes and you have a significant amount of money, you don't want to pass this debt on to your kids. So the most important thing is to really talk about it. Can you afford $8,000 to $10,000 a year? Can you afford $15,000 or $20,000 a year? What are you comfortable paying out of pocket without taking on any loans or any debt? I think your student athlete really needs to be educated on debt, taking on debt, and what that really means, because it compounds with interest over the years, and it becomes very, very expensive to take out these loans. I am not a fan of them at all. So I think having these discussions early and really understanding what can your family afford. The other reason that having these questions or having these discussions so early is so healthy is, you're going to have your child look at schools differently. They're going to start approaching it and looking at the price tag, start doing homework on what kinds of merit scholarships would be available there. And they can start to do the math, do the numbers, and start to figure out if some of the schools that they've been talking to or targeting are schools that are even affordable. So, approaching this from a financial perspective is extremely important. Most athletes are not getting major scholarships to play at the next level for volleyball. So they'll get some sort of money, but they're not necessarily going to qualify for a full scholarship. So please, I beg you, sit down and have these conversations beginning your freshman year. I think it will help eliminate some of the frustration and maybe some of the disappointment that your athlete may experience as they fall in love with a school, a coach, or a program that may just not be affordable. Taking on loans is not a great idea, and I would recommend that you really do some research on taking on these loans. So talk to your athlete. Have you put money away? If you haven't, maybe you want to start doing that now, or just know what you can afford. Let's go into the NAIA schools.
Sure. So NAIA is similar to Division II in that they are going to have athletic money available, and they're going to be able to use that with the academic money that you could earn to basically put that together for your package. So again, if you're taking care of work in the classroom based on what they have, it makes a lot of NAIA schools very, very affordable. And I think it's important that there are a lot of great NAIA schools that are out there all over the country. There's some Christian-based schools, if that's something that's interested into you. And then there's some bigger universities out there at the NAIA level. So again, I think that that's a lot of options that people really need to consider. There's some great volleyball. I know a lot of coaches that coach at the NAIA level that have great volleyball programs and have been super successful. So again, when you talk about keeping your search, you're looking at your search and keeping it wide open. You want to, again, give you every option out there possible. And that's why NAIA, again, is great because of the fact that you can combine athletic and academic money. And it's a great way to make school very affordable for you at the end of the day.
We've had several athletes that have been able to qualify for full scholarships even at the NAIA level. Yeah. So the level of volleyball, just to point out what Sam was saying, there are athletes that are leaving Division I institutions to go play at NAIA. I know Westmont picks up some big time pins and attackers that really could play at the D1 level. There's some really, really talented programs out there.
Very much so.
Hope and Vanguard, those are ones for us that are local here in California that we're familiar with. But I have athletes. I have a client that I worked with a couple years ago who had a scholarship offer at Westmont and also had 4 other Division I scholarship offers. So it's important that you know that NAIA is like a very competitive, there are a lot of very competitive programs and some programs that could beat some Division I institutions for sure.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So, and again, it goes back to that fit piece, and that's why it's important to stay open-minded and not just be kind of tunnel vision, as I like to say, you know, keep everything, look at everything, and hear what the coaches have to say. Like, at the end of the day, a school might not be the right fit for you for a volleyball piece, maybe a school piece, maybe the financial piece that Kara did a great job of talking about. But having those options and looking and really keeping everything open is super, super important in this process. Because I can tell you that maybe you go one place and if something doesn't work out and you end up going somewhere else, those coaches might remember you from that recruiting relationship, and that's going to open another door for you at the end of the day.
We want to hear from you. We appreciate you tuning in today. We know we went long, but we want to hear from you. If you have questions about the process or about any of the stuff that we talked about today, please, you can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at vballrecruiter, or you can email us, Kara@myrecruitingsolutions.com.
Or Sam at myrecruitingsolutions.com.
And you can go to our website, myrecruitingsolutions.com. So thanks so much for tuning in. We really hope you enjoyed today's little episode, and we're excited to continue to bring more stuff at you.
All right.
Thanks.